Welcome back to Astrology, Angels, and More. I'm your host, Mary Silvernail, and I appreciate you tuning back into our show. We have a really wonderful, informative, learning show tonight. Very, very interesting about mythology and astrology. It's so interesting. We have a guest returning that you have seen before. She was on a couple of months ago. But first, what we're going to do is I want to talk to you about a lot of things that are happening in the heavens right now. Today is October the 9th, 2024. And first of all, I want to wish all you Libras a happy birthday. Happy birthday, beautiful Libras. Libra is the seventh sign of the zodiac with Venus as its ruler. Cream is the lucky color associated with the sign of Libra. Libras are thoughtful, cooperative, friendly people who value friendship. Actually, very close lifelong friend of mine. Also, her name is Mary, just like me, and she's a Libra. She's a beautiful Libra. Now, partnership is essential to a Libra. They really don't like doing anything on their own. They like to do it together. They are very peace-loving people and appreciative of the arts. Their major downfall, though, is indecisiveness. Libra's gems are watermelon, tourmaline, and hematite. Those are your lucky stones, Libra. And understand when I'm talking about a particular sun sign, I am also referring to your rising sign or your sun sign. So if you know your rising sign, which is pretty important to know. That's the time of day that you were born, where the sun was on the ascendant at the time of day that you were born. So if you know your rising sign, you should always, in a horoscope, if you're reading your horoscope, first read your rising sign and then read your sun sign. Put them together, they're going to make a lot of sense. Now, speaking of Libra, on October the 2nd, which passed a week ago, Libra solar eclipse, we just experienced that we're coming out of a lot of the energies of that right now. But it created sudden changes and actually perhaps changes in life paths, whether it be personal or business. With the moon conjunct Mercury at that time and the black moon of Lilith, it could help to write down the qualities and capabilities of the people you'd like to attract. So this is something that really, I hope that you did. I had this in my column, which is what I'm reading to you, that I write every month. And if you're interested in receiving any of the information from the show tonight, just simply email me or Brian. Our emails are at the end of the show. But especially about a week ago, like within the past week, was a time to really get clear on things and to avoid any of the previous common traps that perhaps you had fallen into before. This really is a beautiful month of new beginnings. So now, October 9th, today, Jupiter turns retrograde in the sign of Gemini, and it will be retrograde until February 4th, 2025. So you can expect some delays in growth and expansion for what you're working on. Now, tomorrow, October the 10th, it is 10/10, and it's a karmic energy portal, rebirth in your love life and finances. In numerology, 10 is related to completion and rebirth. Your past karma is paid, and you're free again to welcome romantic love, and possibly your own twin flame or soulmate will be entering your life in the divine order for a higher purpose, if you're lucky enough for that to happen, right? Now, October the 11th, Pluto will be stationing direct in the sign of Capricorn. It has been retrograde ever since May the 2nd of this year, through Aquarius, and then September 1st it was retrograde in Capricorn. So now on November 19th, Pluto will move into Aquarius for the next 20 years and will not be back in Capricorn in our lifetimes. The effects, that's a big deal. The effects are widespread changes, personally and globally. Pluto has everything to do with what has been going on in the world, especially right before COVID, and still happening now. But I'm very happy that Pluto will be in November going into Aquarius. Now, because Capricorn, that's a very difficult sign for Pluto to have been in. But most especially, this Pluto in Capricorn and then moving into Aquarius has mostly affected Capricorns, Cancerians, Aquarius, and Libras, whether that be your sun sign, your rising sign, or your moon sign. So if you have something very prominent in your stars, such as your rising sign, sun sign, or moon sign, those are the most prominent pieces of your astrological chart. And Capricorn's experienced major changes in the past several years, and Cancerians also, due to this transit of Pluto. See, Pluto knocks everything down, and then it rebuilds everything beautifully. So we're in the time of rebirth, which is great. Now, on October the 17th, Mercury will enter Scorpio. So just be alert for any kind of mind games. Just be aware of that. October 17th, also that same day, is the Aries super full moon. It's the fifth and final super moon of 2024. Full moon of rebirth. See, there is that word again. And this is what's happening at this time right now in this world. Full moon of rebirth, which means completing the circle of eclipses also. This is a time of self-expression. However, don't allow any drama to escalate. With a square aspect with Mars and Pluto, be aware of competitiveness and power plays tripping around you. Your rivals will let themselves be known. Things rise above. We're going to start seeing a lot of truths. October 22nd, the sun enters Scorpio, and also it's a wonderful time of manifestation and transformation. And of course, then we have October 31st, which is All Hallows Eve, and the veil between the earthly and the heavenly worlds is very thin this entire month, making communication with the other side much easier. Now, for all you Aries sun signs and rising signs, I'm going to read what's prevalent for you this month, and then I'll be moving on through all the signs. So if you know your rising sign, also pay attention to whatever your rising sign is besides your sun sign. So Aries, any differences of opinion will be sorted out and resolved by the time of this eclipse, which was really in the beginning of the month. So I hope you continue to keep your cool through the rest of this month. That's very important for Aries right now. Taurus, this is a time of enormous change for you, and it's time to shift your thinking to a more positive outcome, and it will manifest itself by month's end. Gemini, matters regarding children and love are prevalent this month. Follow your heartstrings, and you will win. Now, Cancer, listen to the advice of the elder people in your family and friends, especially in regards to any matters of your home. This is truly a time, your home is very focused upon at this time, and this is truly a time to open your home to loved ones. Leo, real estate investments are a wise choice for you at this time. You must learn to appreciate independence and trust yourself more. Virgo, money, money, money. Money is coming your way. Isn't that wonderful? This is very interesting. I just had a call from a very close friend of mine right before we started filming, and he's a Virgo, and he was giving me really good news. And now I'm reading about Virgo, and here it is. Money is coming your way. So be sure to share your good fortune. It will not be forgotten. You receive cooperation that had not been previously expected. Libra. Happy birthday, Libra. Happy birthday again. It's your month to shine. The new and improved you is shining gloriously. Look for positive partnership changes. Scorpio, you have a change of heart regarding your lover. Give it a little time and the truth will come to light. In that light will be joy, especially at the end of the month, Scorpio. Sagittarius, you're in demand, Sag. Get out there and show the rest of the world how you know how to enjoy life, because each day is a gift. Capricorn, the higher-ups have noticed your hard work and will reward you, and just don't give up. Aquarius, your intuition tells you the correct way to go. Listen to your own inner knowing. Others have not walked in your shoes. Pisces, you must keep balance in your life at this time. You have made great strides, Pisces, and it's time now to forge ahead. The stars are shining in your favor. So now, without further ado, I'm looking forward to introducing a wonderful, wonderful guest who we have had on before. She is an astronomer, and she studies the stars. And I'm really looking forward to having her on again. She was just on a couple of months ago, and you're going to gain a lot of knowledge from this show from Pat. Pat?
Hi.
Hi. Introduce yourself.
Pat Brady.
Pat Brady.
And thank you, Mary, for having me on the show tonight.
Absolutely. I'm so happy you could make it. You were just on a couple of months ago, right? We did a great show.
And time is flying by fast.
I know.
The months are flying by. This was summer, now it's the fall.
Yeah, but you have such wonderful information all the time to share with the audience.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, when you study astronomy, it's a little bit different. It's similar, but a little bit different, because the astrologers looked up and gazed at the stars, and then they would make constellations, the grouping of stars, and tell a story to the kings and queens and the people, the gods, because they wanted to hear it. So astronomy is a branch that has branched off from astrology, because astronomers just study the distance and the luminosity and what the composition of the stars are made of. So there's a little bit of difference. The astrologers back then didn't have the equipment that we have now. So
Imagine if they had.
they didn't know that if one grouping of stars, the stars all look like diamonds to them. And there would be a big diamond and a small diamond, but some of the stars are bigger, some of them are further away. So they just didn't have the technology back then. So,
Well, at one point, weren't the astronomers and the astrologers one and the same?
absolutely, like Johann Kepler, Galileo. Johann Kepler from Germany, he came over to study astronomy, but he was an astrologer first. And he would make his predictions to the king or the pope. And he had predicted a lot of things, a lot of good things that the pope wanted to hear. He wanted to further it, though. He loved the eclipses, and he was a mathematician. And he came from royalty, and he studied mathematics from Germany.
I see.
And I always ask the students, have they gone to Germany? Every once in a while, there's someone that they've gone there. And I say, did you go to Kepler University? Some of them say no. One did say yes. And I said, describe it.
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
Statues, math all over, posters, the birth of astronomy, and all the formulas and all the Kepler's laws came into play. And it's all over in the university in Germany.
You say the birth of astronomy. So first there was astrology,
Correct.
and then there was astronomy. I always viewed it as though, because like the three wise men, weren't they astrologers and astronomers, really, because
Well, they had the alignment right, and but they did make their predictions too of those stars, the stars of Jesus.
yeah.
So they just didn't have the equipment that we have now, and it was a different time.
Yeah.
So
But it seems like they were pretty accurate.
I've been to Chichen Itza in Mexico, and they have an observatory, has the dome. It has they're not windows, but you can look out to certain areas. And the astrologers at the time would follow the eclipses, and during the solstice, there would be certain times where the sun would be hitting the pyramids. And laced at the edges of the pyramids, it would be in gold. And at the foot of the pyramids, there would be a dragon. When these eclipses occurred, the whole side of the pyramid would light up, and you could see the whole dragon.
And that's amazing? Isn't it amazing the way that they knew how to build the eclipses that were in alignment with the pyramids, in alignment with the eclipses? That just blows my, just like the Lion's Gate, remember? I mean, we were talking about that actually, I think, on the last show. And the way it's all aligned, it amazes me with the three pyramids in Egypt. So, wow, that is something I would absolutely love to see.
It draws a lot of people. And they just wait. They wait until that eclipse hits, and then boom, everything lights up.
Since we're talking way back when, what do you make of the Mayan calendar? I'm sure people have asked you.
Right off the top of my head, well, leaders have come and gone, and they've actually, in time periods, they would set up their own calendars. So,
True, yeah.
Then it's been revised, the Gregorian calendar, and then the calendar even that we have today.
Yeah.
So it depends on the timing, and it depends on who's running the the kingdom at the time. So
Oh, I see.
they all had their interpretations. The astrologers definitely put their input on it. So it's a whole different section of studying time and how it relates to man.
Interesting.
So
That's really interesting.
there's
That's very deep.
yeah, Julian date. You know, you have Julius Caesar. Okay, he's number one. So day one started with him. They still use Julian dates, even with astronomy too. So, but basically, I mean, it's a different section. So, you know, if you're studying it on a different level, we just go with the calendars for today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of numbers there with the date. It's unbelievable. It's astronomical.
Astronomical.
It's incredible. I see things and I hear things and I can't even believe it sometimes.
It's amazing.
You know, like we'll be going into the mythology a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
You know, a collection of the stars, and it specifies a person, a specific person, culture, religion, anything that's shared at the time. The constellation, a grouping of stars. And in 1922, international astronomical units were put in the books that there are 88 constellations that are registered. So there's a lot to study, especially, you know, when you're talking about worldwide, north and south hemispheres. So there's the zodiac constellations that you talk about, always on the ecliptic, the apparent path of the sun. And people, sometimes it's a hard thing to imagine that the ecliptic, once that sun goes down every night, the planets, because we're on the Earth's plane, and that's a Milky Way galaxy there, we're on the plane of the Milky Way. The planets come up, the moon comes up, and the stars come up right on that plane. So if you know where the ecliptic is, the apparent path of the sun, you can find some of the planets. Sometimes they're grouped together as conjunction. Sometimes there's an alignment. There's a few of them in an alignment. I saw an alignment years ago, and it was at sunrise. I was in New Jersey, and I could see the planets in a line.
In alignment.
I couldn't even believe what I saw.
Is this with the naked eye?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even
I've experienced that.
I was on a job, but matter of fact, we were there at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and just before dusk,
It's amazing.
twinkling of the stars and planets. And if you know those planets and you can start to see them, there's nothing like it.
No.
There is nothing like it. It's amazing.
It's enormous. It's an enormous feeling. It's beautiful.
So, you know, a lot of these constellations, they're Greek, Roman. You have your zodiac constellations and you have seasonal constellations. They're part of it. And they all measure time. That's what the purpose is. Because time for the people back then was very important. You know, we go by our watches and we go day to day, but if the king wants to know about a time or a certain time to go to war, say, or when it's starting to get cold, these astrologers would know when some of these constellations came up, this is the time to do things, or this is the time to retreat. So they were very important for the kings and queens, the emperors, all the people that were ruling at the time. So there are also circumpolar constellations. Circumpolar constellation in our northern hemisphere, those constellations do not go below the horizon. They circle around Polaris, circumpolar. Very important for celestial navigation, I've spoken to.
Oh, look
Thank
what we
you.
have there.
We have a nice
Thanks,
picture
Brian.
of the circumpolar constellations.
Whoa.
And since the picture is up, there's Polaris in the middle, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major is there, Cepheus, Draco, Cassiopeia. Those are the main constellations that, where we are with our latitude, 40 degrees, we can see this at certain times of the year. So they never go down. They're always circling around Polaris. Polaris, too, that's a beautiful star. When I was at the observatory, I kept asking the professor, I want to see Polaris. Please let me. He took the telescope and he brought it to where Polaris was. It's a double binary star. And I was like, oh God, I couldn't believe. And there's things that there's no words except they're beautiful. There's nothing like it. A double star system, binary star. They play stories that have changes in them, the seasons, and even divine meaning for religion. Time, again, when people would do certain things at certain times, and it could be good and it could be bad because there were barbarics back then. And in Chichen Itza, when that moon came up, there were many sacrifices at the top.
Yeah.
There's a good movie. It's a little tough to watch, but Apocalypto by Mel Gibson shows a story of what they did.
Oh,
I didn't know what they did. Thank God I went to Chichen Itza before. When I saw the movie afterwards, I couldn't believe it.
because then maybe you wouldn't have gone.
It made you think a little bit because of all the sacrifices and putting some of the people in these wells that would drown. Sacrifice was a big thing. So we're going to go to, I will talk about the circumpolar constellations, but Orion is up in the sky, especially October, November. You can see Orion. And I think Brian has a picture of it.
Yeah.
He has an asterism
There we go.
of Orion.
There you go.
Now, it doesn't look like much, but the three stars where the belt is, that's one of the main giveaways. And if you really start to study the warrior, he was a big warrior. He had an arrow and a club. That was a shield. And he would go after Taurus and the Hyades. He was a hunter. Taurus was an animal. So you have at the top shoulder there is Betelgeuse. It's a shoulder. And down at the bottom is Rigel, another star, another bright star up in the heavens. And he's pointing to Aldebaran. That's another story. But where his belt is, just below, this picture doesn't depict it, but he has a sword. And in that sword, astronomers have found the birth of stars. Many births of stars. And being involved with the Hubble telescope, I've seen this. I've seen it in different areas, in different lectures, and it's just a beautiful thing how they start to form. And that's one of the areas where it is, I don't know, it's just beautiful. I love talking about this because there's nothing like seeing it. You can read about it. You can read about it in a book.
Right.
But to see it, and you've seen stars.
Yes.
So there's nothing like,
Yes.
especially when they're bright and it's during the year. Orion, okay, he's gigantic. He's supernaturally a strong hunter. And he's born from Ile and Poseidon. Now, Poseidon, we all know, is the protector of the seafarers.
Yes.
He's associated with Neptune, who's associated with the storms, earthquakes, and horses. So there's two different sea-bearing gods that are out there. And if you ever go to a show or a ship, you know, when the ships come in during the beginning of near July, some of those ships have the symbols of Poseidon and Neptune on them. The symbols were very important because that's telling the gods that, look, please, I want to go from one point to another point. Please give me safe passage. And all these ships, a lot of them, have that, especially like the smaller ships. They put it right next to the captain, because if the captain gets in trouble, that's not good. They start praying. And we've all seen the Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
So you never know. I mean, it was a rogue wave that tipped over this cruise ship, but there were good ending in a way, besides all the trials and tribulation.
This is true. But Neptune, so that's where the planet got its name from.
Absolutely. It's one of the gods.
Yes.
Up in the sky.
That's where the planets get their names.
So again, from the Greek and Roman, they came up with these names. So Goya, she's an ancestral mother of all life, and she's the mother of Uranus. So she found out that Orion didn't like animals, and he wanted to kill all the animals up in the sky. So she didn't like that. She was angry, and she took Orion, because he just had the intent to do this, to kill the animals. She put him with the Scorpion, and Scorpius is up there. And Scorpius went over and bit him. Now, Orion would have died. But Ophiuchus, the zodiac sign, he's a serpent bearer, meaning he could kill the dragons, he can kill anything evil. He stood between Orion and Scorpio, and they could never meet. He found an antidote for Orion. He did. So he saved him up in the sky. He went in between them midway, and they'll never see each other in the heavens. They're both up there, but they'll never touch.
Well, Scorpio is on one side of the heavens and Taurus on the other, and isn't Orion over in Taurus?
Yeah, it's over in Taurus. So Scorpio, you know, for...
yeah, that's such an interesting, you know, mythology behind that, the origin of that. That's so interesting.
The gods were the rulers, and the astrologers would base everything on the kings, the queens, and the gods. So everything that's named up there were, in fact, drawn up by the astrologers.
As a professional astrologer and literally practicing astrology my whole life, I find it so interesting, and it still amazes me, the accuracy of astrology. You know? It just really, really amazes me still. And so all the way, way back in time here, these people knew that. They knew that. I imagine that's why they considered them to be gods.
Because they ruled the earth, the gods. And you had to be in alignment with them. They constructed the pyramids at certain points.
It's just so interesting.
So it's an incredible thing.
Incredible.
With the Orion, he's depicted up there. We don't have the picture of, we do, but at his feet, he's got
Like
two,
this,
I don't know.
Does he have it?
No, we just have the circumpolar up there.
There he is.
Okay.
At his feet?
Well, you see Rigel, and to the left of Rigel, just below it, he has his hunting dog with him.
Oh.
It's Sirius, the dog star.
Sirius, yeah.
That's the greater dog.
Yeah.
And he also had Canis Minor. So Canis Major is Sirius, Canis Minor is the lesser dog. A lot of these constellations with hunters had the dogs always trying to find something to hunt. You have lepus, there's a rabbit, there's all different types of things that these hunters wanted to, get rid of at the time. So that's why they're placed a little separate from each other. And the astrologers were smart, because if the king wanted the animals to live, separate them. So those are with art. In the future, Orion is located on the celestial equator. Now, we have our equator. If you expand it out into the sky, that's the celestial equator. So Orion is borderline near the celestial equator, and over time, over precession, the future, Orion will start to dip, because the Earth in time will wobble, and then degrees go down, and then the constellations will actually dip.
We've already had a bit of a wobble. Isn't that so?
But the full wobble
Uh-oh.
is
Uh-oh.
at least 29,000 years.
Okay, good.
So we have
Okay, we have time.
we have Polaris. In the past, we've had Thuban, and 9 years goes by. We have Polaris, and then another 9 years goes by, and then we have Vega. Vega's the harp, and there's a star in Vega, that constellation. That'll be the new Polaris, but that's way in time, at least 14,000 years.
I guess we won't see that. At least, maybe from heaven we will.
Well, I was going to say something like that. Hopefully we're going to see it.
Yeah.
So, with precession, the Earth rotates on its axis 23.5 degrees, and it just wobbles. And over a period of 72 years, it kind of dips a little bit, but then it goes up like a gyroscope. So it's just this thought of all time that has passed, and now what we can see right now.
Amazing. Amazing.
Precession, the rotation of the axis of a rotating body. So right now, Orion's near Gemini and Taurus, just below it. And over time, it'll just start to go south a little bit more, and over a lot of time, we won't be able to see it because of the precession of a body. That's in astronomy. But, in astrology, there are similar words: precession, progression.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, people come in, they say, well, look, I want to know what my future is. What is it going to be? What am I going to be doing? Mm-hmm. And an astrologer can actually figure out the angles and where the planets will be traveling over time into the next house, and how it will affect their sun sign and the rising sign.
And the timing of that.
Because people want to know. If you have clients and they want to know, look, what's going to happen in 10 years? I want to know, am I going to be successful? Will I get married? Will I travel? And that's the astrologer's job. It's tough. It's really tough figuring out what's going to happen.
Well, it's what I do every day.
Well, Taurus is, they're
That's what I do every day. I know,
they're
but
exact.
It's a science, and it's an art. So it's beautiful. But that's what I say. The accuracy of astrology, it constantly amazes me. Just amazes me.
I agree. And that star, the dog star Sirius, when the astrologers saw it, when they saw it at certain months, like in August, they named it the dog days of summer because the rivers would dry up. And that was a signal for them to tell the king.
So that's where that term came from.
The dog days of summer. I think it was the Nile River, that would dry up, and that would be the time to really start, having the food to survive. If the plants, if everything is dry, it can't survive. So that played a big part. All right, I'm going to move on to some of the circumpolar constellations. And we have Ursa Major. And I think Brian's got that shot of Polaris in the center, and Ursa Major and Ursa Minor are there. And as he's pulling that up, it was cataloged by the Greek astronomer Ptolemy. Okay, it was associated. Well, that's one of the. I see the Pleiades and Atlas, but we're going to go to the other one that has the Polaris in the middle of it, because those are the circumpolar constellations.
I see.
We can see in the north the Big Dipper, Ursa Major, the Big Bear, and Ursa Minor, which is the tail of the constellations. The tail is Polaris. Okay, so if you know those two constellations and you can line up the stars in the Big Bear, Ursa Major, it goes right to the Little Dipper. Hard to see. It's hard to see. I only saw it through the telescope because my eye is not trained. But if you know where to look, you can actually set the scope up. And now with the right ascension and declination, you can actually pinpoint where some of the celestial bodies are. So it's associated with Callisto. Now, Callisto was one of the nymphs, okay, and Zeus was really, he wanted her. He loved Callisto. And it goes like this. Well, that's the transformation. But basically, Callisto, beautiful nymph, and she took a vow to one of the gods, Artemis, that she would stay pure and wholesome like the other nymphs. But Zeus came into the picture, and Zeus is a god. He wants her, he takes her. So she has a son. And she has a son named Arcus. So Artemis, the goddess Artemis, had already banished Callisto. She put him up there. She put her up there. And she learned about, the nymphs and the nymph and the pregnancy. So she was very jealous. She was a very jealous person. So what she did was she turned Callisto into a bear.
A bear?
A bear. The Big Bear.
Wow.
She's a god. She could do it. So the story goes that Callisto became a bear. And then the son, her son, became the little bear. These gods had power to change whatever the person, whatever the planet, whatever it was. The nymphs, people that were in different areas of the kingdom, they could change it. Zeus's wife, Hera, she wasn't amused by Zeus. She didn't like it, and she really wanted to do more damage. She's the one that did it. She put Callisto up there, and Arcus, Big Bear, Little Bear. And, because of the betrayal, okay, this bear figure had come about. Callisto wandered in the heavens at the time. This is the story. For 15 years, he's roaming, or she is roaming, the bear is roaming, trying to dodge the hunters because she didn't want to die.
Oh.
So over time, she was placed in the heavens stationary, and the little bear was stationary. And at the end of the story, the two bears meet. Okay, but they're not that close, but they're up in the heavens. And one of them
How do they meet?
What, Callisto? And
Yeah, how do they meet?
they were names that were given to from the astrologers. Had to tell stories, and these are Roman and Greek names.
Yes.
They came up with the names. They came up with the gods. Apollo's up there, Zeus, Poseidon. These are the gods. And where did they come from? From their imagination. Their imagination.
Well, I mean, that's what I practice, Greek astrology.
Greeks and some Romans, it's a mix.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the two
yeah.
bears never meet, You practice the Greek?
Greek astrology, yeah.
Greek.
And then there's also the Hindu astrology. That I don't practice that. Although, I am interested in the effects of the asteroids and things like that too. But mostly in Greek astrology, it's just the planets, But so it's so interesting, the mythology, because it's such a beautiful story, but then it comes all together like a puzzle, comes together. And I just love, it's so interesting. I just love it.
It's nice. It's a nice thing to use your imagination and to appreciate what the astrologers have done. They just didn't have the equipment that the astronomers have now. So Ursa Major is the Big Bear. That's the asterism. That's a part of the Big Bear. And let me see. Go on a little bit. We've got Draco the dragon is one of the constellations right between the Big Bear and the Little Bear. Okay, it's a dragon. It's a deadly dragon, and it's wrapped around. It's one of the largest constellations in the sky. And it's wrapped around the Little Bear. It represents from Landon that guarded, it was put there because it guarded the golden apples.
Oh.
The golden apples. And that was in Mount Atlas. So Atlas is in the heavens too. But it was facing Hercules. And Hercules had his 12 labors that he had to complete to show that he was, immortal. He became mortal after he cut his hair, but when he was up there, he was slaying all the dragons. And Draco, the dragon, deadly, he pursued and got rid of the dragon. He killed him. Dragon is still up there between Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. Cepheus, the king, Ethiopia. Cassiopeia is the husband, and Zeus was placed in the sky after a few things happened to him. There's a whole different story on it. But when he was alive, the astrologers basically would say, look, there's a constellation up there. It's a house. When you pass on, that's where you're going. There's all diamonds in there. There's all riches beyond belief, and that's where you're going to go. So Cepheus was good. He was good. And except he loved another nymph, Io. Now, you got Io and Callisto, and those are the two Galilean satellites. So he ruled from Ethiopia, stretched land between the Mediterranean Sea, which is now bordering Israel and Egypt. So Cepheus is the house. It looks like a house. If we could put that up, Brian, maybe we could see what the house looks like. Okay, and then once we get to that, nope, the other one with Polaris in the middle, there it is. You can see all of those constellations. There's, let me see, hopefully, Cepheus, Cassiopeia, the wife. She's very vain. She thinks she's beautiful. And she thinks she's more beautiful than Poseidon's nymphs. And her daughter, Andromeda, was beautiful. And Poseidon didn't like that. So he put her on a throne. It's a W shape, but depending on what year, the time of the year, she's on the throne. But sometimes it turns and it becomes an M. That means she's holding on to her throne because she doesn't want to lose to be she's a queen. So she's holding on, and the story goes that it keeps going, year
Yeah.
forever, for eternity.
The story just it's an eternal story.
And
Wow.
and Andromeda, the daughter, he didn't like that, that she said that she was beautiful. So this is Poseidon. He puts Andromeda on a rock. And Perseus, we spoke about Perseus. He was a hunter, and he found her, and he rescued her from the rock because Cetus, that's up in the heavens too, was going to kill her. So he rescued her also.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stories. There's a little touch of stories, and time is flying by.
Yeah. Fine.
But, Poseidon, I don't know, you have to have reverence for the ocean and the sea.
Oh, yes.
We have our Hurricane Milton right now. Just Helene was last week. Milton is now. It's anger. And sometimes the gods get angry in the ocean. So at certain times of the year, seasonal, we have our storms. And
Tremendous damage and
all I know is there's going to be a lot of destruction, and people waiting for the last minute to get out, which I can't believe. There were lines running out of gas. They're going 5 miles an hour, and this storm is coming. So
because they keep hoping that it would go down a notch and whatever. Very hard. Actually, my niece and her family were evacuated, and she's up in Alabama right now. And my daughter is still there, right in the eye
in the
of
path.
storm. Yeah,
Oh.
she was not part of the evacuation. So at that point, then they tell you that you're not supposed to leave.
Yeah, they
so,
don't
I mean, believe me,
encourage.
she is on my mind like you wouldn't believe today
Of course.
and tonight.
That
The prayers.
that storm can travel, even though they have that cone out there. It can go either way.
Travels.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened with Helene. It went a little bit. But anyway, yeah. So, and you were going to tell us about the meteor showers,
Okay.
too.
I
a
can-
little bit.
Yeah, I could touch upon that a little.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's long-term asteroids that come in, and there are short-term ones. The short-term ones we see monthly. There's a few of them. And for October, you have the Draconoids in the constellation of Draco. Mm-hmm. So it radiates from that constellation. But if you don't know where it is, you just look up and you'll see the stars. That's October 8th, 9th, 10th.
Yesterday, today, tomorrow.
It lingers. Sometimes it lingers for a few days. So you'll be able to see that. You just look north. And let's see, we have late October, Orionids in the constellation of Orion. So if you know where Orion is, around the 12th, a few days before, a few days after. And also mid-November, you have the Leonids. The Leonids are from the constellation of Leo, and some of the comets pass through. Actually, it's the comets that are passing through, and we get the dust from the comets, the tail. So asteroids.
You can see it.
Oh, absolutely. You can actually see, the stars that emanate from that constellation, basically from the comets. And basically, I'll do one more December because.
One more, then we have to end.
Oh, the
yes.
time is going by.
I know, it always does.
December.
We were together, yeah.
December is the Geminids. So if you know where Gemini is, and you can look this up on the computer, on the exact date, around the 12th, you can see the trail of stars, the dust that comes out.
It's gorgeous.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it's gorgeous. You have to, give it a shot. You know, just give it a shot and it will amaze you. Lots of times we're not aware of this, so we don't even look up in the heavens to see. But we're almost out of time. Is there one last thing you would like to add in, Pat, before we end?
You spoke about the full moon coming up,
Yes.
and it's the hunter's moon.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what
Yes.
happens, and I'll tell you really quick, that the indigenous people that lived and the farmers that had crops, they would use that moon to reap the crops. The hunter's moon, the indigenous people would find at night, because of the moonlight, they could hunt the animals for food.
Well, you know, I'd like to mention to our audience that you can watch us on Spectrum, Channel 79, and also FiOS, Channel 35, and on YouTube, and you can go back and see all our shows on YouTube. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. I bet you were enlightened quite a bit with all this wonderful information that Pat Brady brought for us. And I thank you so much, Pat, for coming. And you know I'm going to be asking you to come back
We're
again.
going to keep going.
It's great.
I'll keep coming in. There's a lot of consolations out there.
There's a lot of information to be known, and many, many blessings. Have a happy Halloween. And
Happy autumn.
Many blessings. Yes.
Pumpkin.
It's a time of transition. And this is what's going on. And with what's going on with Pluto, transformation, manifestation. So manifest what it is you would like to bring into your life. And God bless you. Many, 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 many blessings. Many blessings. God bless you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Pat. It was very nice. Very good show.